In part 2 of our Asian-inspired planter, I'll show you the joinery work for the front and back lower rails. To set the length of the cross members for the bottom of the box, I'm going to be using the top and side cross pieces to set those two lengths. So this would be like the front, and this is the top side, this is the bottom side, but my leg is going to be coming through in the same place. What I've done is I'm planning on putting a notch in the middle of the front and back pieces that allows the side piece to come through and be tusk tenoned on the outside, but at the same time this joint is going to be locked into place. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is similar to what I had on the top, is I'll take this with a cutout that allows the tenon to come through this spot and then be joined on the other side. So on the bottom you'll have a tenon that starts at about 1/4 inch up and then goes through and extends out the other side by 1 3/8 inches. So this is my bottom piece for the side, where I've drawn out where the leg comes through. See, I can just line it up and score where the legs come through so that I know where that's supposed to be. And this is the tenon coming through the leg. This is the extension that from a side view then would be, with this being the leg, the tenon on this would have this part of it cut away and extend out the side with this stub tenon that I'll shape off a bit, and we'll put a plug in here or a tusk in here to go through it and hold it in place. That'll lock everything in place without the need for any glue or screws or nails. First, I'll plunge the mortises into the legs on the panner router. I use 2 templates as stop blocks to set the length of each of the mortises. And here's the result. The tenons are next. I did a test tenon first to make sure I had a proper fit. The side through tenons I cut on the bandsaw. By rotating the piece over, I ensured that the tenon was centered on my piece. I cut them a little bit wider than the mortise so that I could pare the tenon to fit. The waist is cut away by hand. With a little bit of seemingly complicated joinery down here, in order to ensure things line up, I've got the top side of the bottom rail that I'll put into place. It's a good tight fit, and that will help me make sure that I line up this other piece with this one. I use the marking knife to transfer the edges and that just, this will be the top. That's the main one I need to know, and then I need to score off the bottom of this. Need a place to mark that with my knife. Bottom of this joint that needs to go through. I'm going to have to take a little bit more off of this, I think, to make sure that it works right. Taking this to here, it should work. And I have a 1/2 inch wide mortise, so I have a 1/2 inch wide chisel. I can line up along those where the cut line should be. My mortise is actually a little bit wider than 1/2 inch, but it is the correct thickness for the tenons that I've made. Need to make sure I square these up on both sides, inside and outside, so that my tenon fits through correctly. And by leaving this piece in, it gives them a little bit of a backer to this so it doesn't just break through. Once I have this mortise squared out, I'll take my marking knife and mark the inside edges along this tenon so that I know what I need to cut out to ensure that that fits. So this is the part that I've marked out. To fit the panels into the top and bottom of the framework, I need a groove along both the inside edges. You know, I could do this a number of ways. I've decided for my project, I like using the panel router. It's going to be the quickest, easiest setup, the fastest for me to get it done. So I'll take everything over on the panel router, make sure everything is set on the panel router the same direction. That is, I'm going to have the inside edge up because my inside edge isn't always planed flat. It's not a showing surface. I didn't have thick enough wood for everything. So sometimes my inside edge is a little wavy. Outside looks good. That's what matters to me. The new style of template holder has a bit of a notch in the center. See where it's rounded out, so it dips down. As I go across with a follower in the groove, it's going to dip down a little bit. This older style is smooth all the way across. There's no dip in the center. So I'm going to use the older one because that way I can just use my follower all across that, and I won't have any jagged edge in my groove that I'm doing. I have a stop set up on each end to keep me from falling off the edge of the panel router holder. I've set up a block as a stop block or a backer to keep everything stiff. All of my boards are the same, so they'll fit within that, nice and snug. And then I'll just clamp them in place as I go, slide the board back and forth and get my groove along this edge, always putting the inside up. On the setup where I have the stopped groove, I need to make sure my bit is horizontal and that it doesn't go past the end of what I'm looking at there. Right now I have just a tiny bit that I need to bump this over. And that'll clear it. The end I can square up with a chisel when I'm through.